Some business schools that would have a harder time saying, we say beyond ourselves, beyond yourself, and we mean it. We say confidence without attitude, and we actually mean it. We will turn down, I'm saying we do this. I think this is pretty hard for most schools. Somebody comes to us. I mean, we have a relatively small full-time MBA. I'm going to stop in just a minute so we can get some conversation. But 300 students come in a year to our full-time MBA. Imagine 2%. You're on day one. It's orientation. You arrive. Now, you've been through an admissions process that, let me assure you, when you talk about executing on the culture, once we had those 4 things written down, we wrote down every business process in the business school, and we drove these into every business process we could think of. So if you said, you know, staff hiring, faculty, classes, teaching evaluations, all that stuff. But let me just say, how about if you just said admissions? It's like, well, we have 6 degree programs. Which admissions? How about full-time MBA? Okay, full-time MBA admissions. They're like 12 sub-processes. What do the letters of recommendation look like? What do the interviews look like? How do we train the interviewers? What does the interview assessment form look like? How do we do information session? Bum, 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 bum. Let's drive this stuff through all of them, all right? And just to give you one small implementation example, we get, all top business schools get lots of letters of recommendation. We get about 10,000 letters of recommendation a year just for our full-time MBA program. And we changed the question. Once we came up with these 4 things, we swapped out one of the questions. And the new question was something like, you may have written a recommendation on this, something like, in the leaders we develop at Berkeley, Haas, we value very highly confidence without attitude. And then for international letter writers, we wrote, i.e. confidence without arrogance. Does this person have that quality? Help us understand that. Now, it took us literally 5 minutes to change a website question. And that means 10,000 people sat down and looked at that question and had to write about it. And 15 minutes later, they were writing the letter for Wharton and some other business school, whatever business schools, and realizing I didn't see a question that looked anything like that on the competing, right? And that's a viral message to 10,000 people that took us 5 minutes to execute on. And it happens every year. And it also gives us information back to make selection based on it. So there's one tiny change in 1/12 of the admissions process for 1/6 of our degree programs. And then you take that example and you say, let's execute across the whole board of business processes. And you start to realize, if you are convicted, if you are serious about this stuff, man, you can drive this a long, long way. And so that's really what we tried to do on the execution side. It's what we tried to do on the content side. Do we get this exactly right? Absolutely not. Last comment. I had lunch with a faculty member in our undergraduate program just a couple weeks ago, and he said there was cheating on my exam. We had students writing an exam. It was our take-home exam. They weren't to use any other information. We ran their papers. This is something called Turnitin. It's simple software. Can I find what was written on those exams on the web somewhere? And a bunch of them had borrowed some content. A bunch. There were like 5 or 6. Sort of like uncompromising. It's very clear. That is plagiarism. It is over the line. These people were major league punished. It's like, well, that's the least you could do. But the conversation I had with the director of our undergraduate program today, we basically said, let's write a case, a 2 or 3 page case that pulls the details of this out, doesn't include the names, and let's teach the goddamn case next fall when the new class comes in. And let's write 2 other ethics-related cases that are each 2 to 3 pages long. Like somebody accepts a job at your company and then continues to interview with somebody else. Folks, here are 3 ethical problems that you will surely confront. And so this is part of the students always part. Look, did we lapse? We lapsed. Does it reflect badly on our institution? Absolutely. But then what do? You write some cases. You drive it through what you're doing. You talk about students always, what beyond yourself means, et cetera. So I will stop there. I know this has gone pretty quickly. But at the end of the day, my own view is, man, none of us started our careers feeling like we had a toolkit for managing culture. None of us. I was 45 before I even started thinking about this stuff. Again, trained as an economist. Now I'm obsessed with the idea that this is the actual toolkit for getting some really hard work done, and it's not easy, but it's really important for each of us to sort of dig into this space to try and build our own toolkits, or build the toolkits of the people we work for and with in this area. Questions?